A dark cave, a massive man, a torch in hand, running towards the light. It's Kratos, you know the one, the very own ghost of Sparta, except this time he appears a bit older, sporting a full beard and calls back to someone with him that they have arrived. This is the spark that spearheaded the direction of what we've come to see with the God of War reboot and God of War Ragnarok. Although this initial piece was made to get God of War 2018 off the ground and was originally envisioned to have taken the series to ancient Egypt, we all know the series took a different direction, far north in fact. 2 games later, and the Norse series of games has officially been capped off, thanks to Santa Monica Studios' firm confirmation that the series' Norse chapter concludes with God of War Ragnarok. The door remains wide open for Kratos and Atreus to travel to other lands, especially Atreus, since at the end of God of War Ragnarok, he embarks on a journey to track down the remaining giants that are nowhere to be seen in the 9 realms of Norse myth. But we know God of War isn't what it is without Kratos. Kratos is simply rebuilding the realms, and is rightfully embracing his accomplishments as the hero of Ragnarok. But this doesn't mean it's the end of Kratos. Other lands have been teased numerous times throughout the games, and if you want a video about that, I suggest watching this video here in this card to link you to the many realms we could see Kratos and Atreus venture to well after the Norse series has ended. In this video, we are going to be starting a new journey, and one that will take us to the realms stated in the previous video. Today, we are looking at ancient Egypt, a very likely setting for a future God of War game. This will be part 1 in a 2-part series exploring ancient Egypt and its vast pantheon, before looking at how we could see Kratos and Atreus in these arid lands in a potential story setting. Enjoy the wonder of learning about some of these fascinating gods and goddesses, and know that I am in no way an expert on mythology, but just a fan of mythology and the God of War franchise, just itching to get basic knowledge of what we could potentially expect should we see this franchise mark its territory in ancient Egypt next. Before we dive in, go ahead and check out the description of this video to partake in 2 giveaways. If you are remotely interested in the Dead Space remake or Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, go ahead and enter into this month's giveaway. It's free, so why not? Best of luck to all those who participate, and without further ado, let's dive into this impressive and expansive mythology. An ancient civilization, glistening in the gold sands of a landscape housing some of the most well-known and adored gods our planet has come to know. Stories passed down for thousands of years, depicting the vast pantheon of mystical deities whose powers have shaped the very arts, culture, and languages they've given birth to. This is a closer look into ancient Egyptian mythology, a mythology that could be the backdrop of the next God of War game. It all starts with an endless, turbulent, and chaotic flood of water at the very beginning. Ra, the god of the sun, emerges from the water and brings light to the world. Ra brought forth the first set of Egyptian gods, as Ra generated 2 deities, Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of rain, or moisture. Both Shu and Tefnut sought out to explore the vast expanse of water before them. Ra became exceedingly worried, as Shu and Tefnut had been gone for an extended period of time. After some time had passed, the pair emerged from the water. With tears of joy to see their return from the waters, Ra gave birth to humans and civilization from those very tears. Both Shu and Tefnut had children of their own, bringing to life Geb, the god of earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky, and thus the earth and sky as we know it were born. There was a great period of time in which Ra was praised as the all-powerful deity that ruled the Nile. But Ra was aware that his time may come to an end as supreme leader should his offspring rise to unseat him. This is precisely what happened, as Geb and Nut, the earth and the sky, gave birth to 4 powerful offspring: Nephthys, Osiris, Isis, and Seth. Nephthys, known as the funerary goddess, married Seth, the god of chaos, storms, and is sometimes referred to as a god of war. Isis, known as the mother of the gods, married Osiris, who later on, as we'll find out, was revered as the god of the dead. Osiris quickly grew to become one of the most influential of the gods, advancing civilization by educating humans, teaching them how to make food, and contributing to humanity in other meaningful ways. Seth, on the other hand, was envious of Osiris and wanted the throne to himself. That desire for the throne was further intensified when Osiris had an affair with Seth's wife, Nephthys, who bore the iconic Anubis, the god of mummification or the underworld. More on him later. Out of rage, Seth murdered Osiris by tricking him to put himself in a coffin, trapping him inside and throwing him into the Nile River, drowning Osiris. Heartbroken, Isis, Osiris's wife, wept and mourned the loss of her husband as her tears transpired in the occasional flooding of the Nile. In defeat, however, Isis didn't give up on her deceased husband. Instead, she searched long and hard to find her husband. She did eventually find Osiris's body, but failed to hide it from Seth, the current ruler of Egypt, and in true violent Seth fashion, he obliterated the body of Osiris, dispersing his remains across the lands. With the help of her son, Anubis, Isis was able to collect all of the body parts of Osiris, resurrecting the fallen god. Osiris, with little power, was unable to live in the land of the living, and instead found his domain in the underworld, where he would mate with Isis and give birth to Horus, a falcon god whose prophecy was foretold to overtake Seth's rule as the rightful heir to the throne. Raised by his mother Isis, Horus engaged in many battles with Seth over a period of time. Horus eventually overcame Seth and retook the throne for himself after a divine legal trial where Judge Geb, the god of Earth, ruled in favor of Horus being the rightful heir to the throne. Now that we've established a basic idea of some of the major events and gods of ancient Egyptian mythology, let's take a closer look at some of the key players, the key gods that Kratos and/or Atreus could come into contact with during their residency in ancient Egypt. Let's take a closer look at Ra first. Ra, the god of the sun and the first supreme god of Egypt, is tasked with crossing the vast skies on his sunboat, similar to how Helios did just that with his chariot in ancient Greece. Ra would light the whole world while traveling the skies, but once the day came to its end, Ra would plunge deep into the waters over the horizon, submerging into the depths, where he would pass through the underworld before re-emerging from the waters to usher in each consecutive day. Well, upon leaving the underworld during the night, he would come into contact with the serpent Apep, or often referred to as Apophis, who was hell-bent on preventing Ra from ushering in the new day. Ra would battle Apophis every night while traveling through the underworld, remaining victorious with every fight. It has been told that one time, Apophis managed to swallow Ra and his vessel one night, resulting in Ra unable to bring the sunlight one morning. Apophis, unable to contain the sun god, saw his stomach erupt open with Ra escaping the confines of the serpent. This was marked as a solar eclipse. Now wouldn't that be sweet to see in God of War? Now, let's look at Anubis in closer detail. Anubis is known as the deity with the jackal head, and is associated with mummification and the underworld. The son of Nephthys and Osiris, Anubis is connected to the workings of life after death. This god is also associated with the protection of tombs and cemeteries, as you can see him and his jackal head adorned in many of the tombs in Egypt. Anubis would lead the spirit of the dead to the underworld, where he would perform a test to determine whether the spirit may exist in the afterlife, or terminate entirely. To do this, Anubis would place the deceased's heart on a scale, and an item known as the Feather of Truth on the other side. Anubis has many murals and hieroglyphs linking him to scales, and it is for this reason. If the heart were to tip the scale downward and elevate the Feather of Truth, then the soul was deemed sinister and was thus given to Ammit, a goddess known as the Devourer of Souls, represented with the head of a crocodile. Ammit would feed on the hearts of these souls, forever preventing them from passing into the afterlife. If the heart were to be lighter than the feather, however, then the purity of the soul would be qualified for life in the afterlife, and would thus be given to Osiris to usher in this rebirth. Could this potentially be the higher plane of existence, as underlined in God of War, like Athena? Comment below. There are also many other supremely important gods, like Thoth, the god of wisdom, integrity, and writing, who appears to be the head of an ibex, an animal that Kratos came into contact with during his time crossing through Egypt on his way to the Norse lands, as depicted in God of War, Fallen God. Then there's Amun, known as the Hidden One. This deity has been described as the force behind all things, and is inextricably linked to all aspects of the cosmos. His influence has been so powerful that he would essentially absorb other gods, taking on their roles and powers. Perhaps the most well-known of this is his merger with Ra, the god of the sun, becoming Amun-Ra. This deity became so powerful and influential that he became the chief deity of the gods. With more than 1,000 deities, it can be hard to get even a semblance, a taste of what Egyptian mythology is like, and with this video, I hope you can better appreciate it and instill in you the sense of awe and wonder of what a God of War tale could be like if it were to take place in this mythology. I'd greatly appreciate it if you smash in that like button, as this video was a large undertaking, as someone who has had very little knowledge of Egyptian mythology. Upon producing this video, I can say that I had a blast researching it, and I hope you enjoyed this basic foundation of the myths from ancient Egypt. Subscribe as always if you loved it. In the next video, I will be going in depth with what we could potentially see if Kratos and/or Atreus were to find their ways into these arid, enchanting lands. I have compiled a brand new playlist on my channel entitled God of War, Where It Will Go Next, as shown here on your screen. View these videos if you can't wait for the next one. Until next time, friends, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all real soon. Peace.